Emiley Jones is a writer, a photographer, a marketer, and I met her during an earlier part of her career when she was doing all those things, but she also was paying the bills as a barista at a little indie coffee shop in Orlando called Downtown Credo. And then fast forward 6, 7 years, I put something online about how I'm thinking about doing this little YouTube experiment. And I just say to the world in general, if you want to do this, if you want to be interviewed, if you want to be part of my little experiment, fill out this form and we'll take it from there. And one of the first emails to pop into my inbox was Emiley Jones. And I was pretty excited. I thought, this is cool. I'm going to catch up with this person all these years later. And you're about to see that interview, but first, I'm thinking like in real time, this is happening. I'm remembering that I want to start doing at the beginning of the show the thing that I've always done at the end, which is this. If you like what I'm doing and you dig the show, can you share it with one person? Just send a link. I would really appreciate that. And if you're so inclined, you also could subscribe. And this is where I'm going to totally rip off the great Joe Pug of the Working Songwriter podcast. And I'm going to use his line, which is, the simple math on those things is that they will help me far more than they will be a pain in the ass for you. So thank you for that. And here's what happened when I asked Emiley Jones one quick question. How do you stay inspired?
So I feel like it's a bit of a two-part answer. And my first response is going to be always books. Reading has inspired me from a very young age, and it continues to do so in every phase of life. It's evolved a lot. So I studied literature and writing in college. So I went through that whole phase of reading like 5 novels a week and just being overwhelmed.
Right.
And then I took a bit of a break from reading and kind of regrouped a little bit. And just in the past couple years, I started reading a lot again in just a wide range. And it still amazes me how much I can get from books. Obviously, I mean, we all
Fiction
know
and
it.
nonfiction?
Yes, a lot of fiction, but definitely both.
Got it.
And the second part is to that answer is I've been gaining a lot of inspiration recently from saying yes to things that I feel very uncomfortable doing. This is one of those things. Whenever I saw you post on Instagram, I watched the video and I was like, oh, that is so cool. Like, that's really neat. I would love to do that. So I clicked yes and immediately was hit with imposter syndrome of like, oh my gosh, I am not his target audience right now. And this is, no, I don't like speaking on camera or in public. Like, right. This is a bad idea.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. Look at us. Yeah. So whenever I started feeling that pushback that I was giving myself, I was like, oh no, this is one of those times I need to go through with it. What's the worst that can happen? Like, it's going to be a fun experience or an interesting experience no matter what. Right. So a lot of that recently.
I'm glad I could be part of that.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for creating this.
Also, it's funny because I think you're 100% my target audience. Like, because my audience is anybody who's interested in creativity and personal development and, kind of finding their way through the world. And so here we are.
I love that. I love that.
And the imposter syndrome never goes away. I mean, Trust me, I'm 58 years old, and every day I kind of feel like, oh, they're gonna figure me out.
Someone's gonna find out.
Somebody's gonna call me out on this. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you remember the first book that made an impression?
Ooh. Okay, so this is going to show my middle school emo side. a little bit. But Dracula was the first book that I read it, I think in 7th grade for the first time, and I just fell in love with the Gothic setting. And I was taking a class. It was like the first time that I was instructed to write poetry for the first time, just as a practice. And I very quickly was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do with my life. I just want to write and read. Obviously, that's evolved a lot. Still love some Gothic literature for sure. But before that, even, I grew up reading and having my parents read to me, and looking at my older sister. She would always stay up way past bedtime. We shared a room, and she would be up on the top bunk with her little night reading light on, and it was just modeled all around me to be this exciting and cool thing to get into. And I definitely followed in those footsteps.
It really makes a difference if kids are exposed to that early on. I mean, our house was full of books, newspapers, magazines. My mom always read to me early on, and it never went away from me. Is there anything recently that really spoke to you or resonated?
Yeah, I just read Appleseed by Matt Bell. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It is across time period and multiple narratives. You follow a few characters, and it's kind of chopped up. A little bit of climate fiction, sci-fi, a little bit of fantasy.
Right.
And that author actually has written a few other books, but this is definitely his like bestseller from what I can tell, and what's really brought him mainstream. But a funny story about that. So when I was in college at UCF, I was taking my one required creative writing course within my literature major, and really loved it. And one of the extra credit opportunities was to go to an author just reading that was traveling and coming. And it was him reading a different book, and I just loved it. I fell in love with the book. It's a very strange one. And that honestly spurred a lot of my, it refreshed my interest in creative writing specifically.
Yeah.
Going to that author reading, and now I love seeing him, like you said, on those apps and on the charts, all the articles. I'm like, wow, look at him go. So while I have no personal connection to him, literally, it's very exciting to see the growth there and
he was
read
an
his work.
inspiration. Attending that event inspired you.
Absolutely.
Do you play an instrument? Are you a musician?
No, I'm not. I did do musical theater and a lot of singing up until I graduated high school. And then
I'm asking because you strike me as somebody who could be a great songwriter. Like, I don't know, you've got that vibe.
I think I would enjoy dabbling, but I don't have, oh, sorry, something just popped up.
Good.
I don't have the music theory know-how for it. But I do like poetry, and I do like writing it, so.
You could learn 5 chords on the guitar. Like
done.
C, F, G, E minor, and A. Like, bam. you could write 1,000 songs with those.
Hey, you never know.
You never know. I'm so glad you did this. Thanks for clicking the thing and not being afraid to go through with it. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Emiley Jones doing the uncomfortable stuff. As Drex DeFord said back on episode 1 of the show, getting comfortable with your uncomfortableness. I like that a lot. Hey, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate Emiley taking time to be on the show. Until next time, keep it gritty.